Bonjour everyone, Pantoufleee here today for a new video in which we're gonna have a little bit of nostalgia, in which we're gonna talk about the tank I used to love the most, in which we're gonna talk about the charioteer that you already guessed by now simply because it's on the screen playing. Basically, I decided to do that video because I was playing the tank this morning and I was thinking to myself, damn, I remember the good old charioteer when it was completely broken and I kind of miss it without necessarily missing it. But let me explain briefly. To give out the context of the tank being broken, it's coming from World of Tank PC. In World of Tank PC, I don't know how it is right now, but at my time when I was still playing, the charioteer was among the greatest simply because of his HESH shells. And obviously, as it's what made the tank popular, Wargaming decided to put it in the game with HESH shells as well in World of Tank Blitz. For the moment, nothing too harsh. I mean, it's a new cool mechanism. It's the first tank at tier 8 being equipped with a HESH shell, and we're already used to some derpy guns because we have access to the T49. But here it was a little bit different because unlike a T49 that reloads fast and doesn't have any penetration, and the HESH shell, as you can see against that SU-152, can penetrate easily and do tremendously good amount of damage, not to mention the reload time. And basically, of course, as the charioteer was introduced along the new line, the FV4005, everyone rushed it. Everyone rushed it because Wargaming really advertised all the tanks from the branch greatly. And I can't really blame them because most tanks were extremely good. If you put aside the tier 7, tier 8 was broken, tier 9 was broken, tier 10 was really great. And the fact that we had access to that tier 8 so early, and which means that you didn't have to spend hours grinding in order to get either the tier 9 or the tier 10 that could be broken, like it was the case, for example, when the M60 was introduced, where the whole line was average to good, and really the tier 10 was outstanding. Here, you only had to grind around maybe 1k experience to get the charioteer and to get that power. I mean, just take a look at that. Just take a look at how wild it is for our friend right there. He's ripping apart every wall. And so it leads me to talk about the statistics. You already know what it is about the gun. You have access to the reload time on screen right now. It's 6.4 seconds. For a tank, I want to remind you, that has a 460 alpha damage when you were playing with your HESH shells. This tank was, when it was first introduced, had more than 3.5k DPM using HESH per minute. It is just wild. And you had the possibility, when you were playing against tanks of the same tier, like it's the case here, choose between your regular shells that were inflicting 350 and your HESH shells that were inflicting 460. And obviously, if you had the possibility of using your HESH shells, you would be the king of the battlefield. There was nothing the enemies could do. You are literally a god among the mortals. And now, of course, Wargaming saw the opportunity and decided to nerf it, probably for the best, because I remember when I was still playing the tank and still grinding it, man, the number of people that were spamming that tank. You saw charioteer platoon everywhere. They were dominating the battlefield. And I kind of respect Wargaming's actions because they took it fast. I remember the charioteer was introduced maybe in the 6.4 update. I'm not sure about the update, but let's say in the 6.4 update. In the 6.6 update, so 2 updates ago, so 2 months ago, 2 months later, not ago, 2 months later, the tank was nerfed. So salute to Wargaming's actions toward the tank. Now, of course, as it was my favorite tank, I was displeased with the nerf. I truly loved it because, in my opinion, the charioteer and the charioteer biggest games were not dominated by average players. Because with this tank, as you never featured any armor, you are getting punished for every single mistake you make. No, what made this tank special is that it was the kind of tank with which you could do an amazing game only if you were a good player, because you needed to learn how to play with no armor, you needed to place yourself correctly, you also needed a lot of credits because playing that tank was expensive because you were playing full HESH all the time. But if you enriched the tank like I did, you didn't have any problems. And I remember talking about enrichment the first time, and I remember it like it was yesterday. The first time the charioteer was introduced, boys, the first video I did The first video on the update I did was called The First Thing to Do in the Update, because I don't remember the name of the update. And it was basically a short video in which I buy the charioteer with free experience and I enrich it even without playing it, because I knew it was going to be completely broken. And yeah, I was right, because right now you see that our friend is managing to pull out nearly a 7-kill game for the moment. And what can he do against it? Literally nothing. The enemies got completely wrecked. Our friend nearly did 6k damage. And well, if we were playing, and shout out, sorry, I forgot to say that, but shout out to WhatBlitz best replays for this amazing one. And as you can see, well, in the good old days, you didn't have the chance to get that much credits, because with a game like that right now, you could possibly climb up to maybe 200,000 credits. And now guys, in the 8.5 update, well, this is what you get. Wargaming nerfed the accuracy, the reload time, the mobility, the traverse speed. They nerfed it seriously. Nowadays, all of a sudden, you don't see any charioteers running around beside grinders, because right now there is literally nothing you can do with the tank. The only thing you can do is remind yourself of how powerful the charioteer was in its first days of introduction, in the first month, and just pray that Wargaming maybe comes back on their decision or try to do something about the tank. Maybe, I don't know, just increasing once again the mobility, not touching the firepower, because right now the tank is really good, having 8.5 seconds of reload for a head shell that sneaks 460 alpha damage is good. But for the rest, like the mobility, wow, Wargaming, you shouldn't have done this. You should have let us have that great mobility. But still, you can be a good player with that tank, you can have some fun, and as you can see, always being able to sneak a head shell is satisfying for you. But beside that, that tank lost all of its superb, because right now it's just impractical to do games like the one we just saw. But despite that, it's still a good tank to grind with, because it's obviously not the worst tank. It's not like you had to play the AMX AC46 that we are ripping apart right now, or even an AMX AC48. I mean, the charioteer still has some solid basis in order for you to get what you need. But as well, no, not as well, but as usual, you are extremely, and I forgot how we say that word in English, but you are, let's say, sensitive or sensible, I don't know what is the right word, to shells in general. There is literally nothing you can do to avoid them. The only thing right now to do with this tank, and especially with this playstyle, is trying to play in a peekaboo situation from an all-down position, which roughly means you go around a hill, you only sneak a shot by showing your gun, you sneak it as soon as possible without even bothering aiming, and you go back to a safe position. And this is what you're supposed to do with it, and it still works without being so great. So well, this is the history and downfall of the charioteer. If you missed the previous version of it, feel free to subscribe, like and share, and personally I'm gonna see you soon for a new video. Bye.